Hare Krishna. It's just few minutes. Okay. Prabhuji has joined. Vanamali Govinda Prabhu, Hare Krishna. Dandavat Pranam. You are muted, Prabhu. Please unmute. Dandavat Pranam. Yes. Yes. Okay. So just speak again. Let's see whether you're here.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Yes, we are able to hear you. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. So you will be sharing anything, or should we share?
I'll just share the text, Bhagavatam.
Okay. 1 second. Okay, so you are co-host, you can share now. Okay, so we'll start now, Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhu.
Okay.
Start with prayers.
Yeah, Hare Krishna devotees, Dandavat Pranam. So today we are very, very fortunate to have His Grace Vanamali Govinda Prabhu to enlighten us from Srimad Bhagavatam, Rudra Gita. Verse number 67 today. Over to you, Prabhu.
Thank you, Prasadeshwar Prabhu. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudhiraye Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavate Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishchiki Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nanda Gopa Kumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha. Kastvat padabjam vijahati pandito yaste vamana vyayamana ketanaha vishankayasmad gururarchati smayad vinopapattim manavaschaturdasha. Word to word meaning: Kaha, who, Tvat, your, Pad abjam, lotus feet, Vijahati, avoids, Panditaha, learned, Yaha, who, Te, unto you, Avamana, deriding, Vyayamana, decreasing, Ketanaha, this body, Vishankaya, without any doubt, Asmat, our, Guru, spiritual master, father, Archati, worships, Sma, in the past, Yat, that, Vina, without, Upapattim, agitation, Manavaha, the Manus, Chatu, Dasha, 14. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, Abhay Charanarvind Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. My dear Lord, any learned person knows that unless he worships you, his entire life is spoiled. Knowing this, how could he give up worshipping your lotus feet? Even our father and spiritual master, Lord Brahma, unhesitatingly worshipped you, and the 14 Manus followed in his footsteps. Purport: the word Pandita means a wise man, who is actually a wise man. The wise man is described in Bhagavad Gita in this way: Bahunam janmanam ante jnanavan mam prapadyate Vasudevaha sarvam iti sa mahatma sudurlabhaha. After many births and deaths, he who is actually in knowledge surrenders unto me, knowing me to be the cause of all causes and all that is. Such a great soul is very rare. Thus, when the wise man actually becomes wise after many births and whimsical attempts at self-realization, he surrenders unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. Such a Mahatma or learned person knows that Krishna Vasudeva is everything. Vasudeva Sarvam iti. Learned persons always think that life is wasted unless that they worship Lord Krishna or become his devotee. Srila Rupa Goswami also says that when one becomes an advanced devotee, he understands that he should be reserved and perseverant, kshantihi, and that he should engage in the service of the Lord and not waste time, avyartha kalatvam. He should also be detached from all material attraction, virakti, and he should not long for any material respect in return for his activities, mana shunyata. He should be certain that Krishna will bestow his mercy upon him, asha bandha, and he should always be very eager to serve the Lord faithfully, samutkantha. The wise man is always very eager to glorify the Lord by chanting and hearing Nama Gane Sada Ruchihi. And he is always eager to describe the transcendental qualities of the Lord, Ashaktis Tad Gunakhyane. He should also be attracted to those places where the Lord and his pastimes, Pritis Tad Vasati Sthale. These are symptoms of an advanced devotee. An advanced devotee or a perfect human being who is actually wise and learned cannot give up his service at the lotus feet of the Lord, although Lord Brahma has a long lifespan, which is 432,000 lakh years, constituting 12 hours in a day of Brahma. If I am not wrong, I think I have pronounced properly the calculation. Brahma is afraid of death and consequently engages in the devotional service of the Lord. Similarly, all the Manus who appear and disappear during the day of Brahma are also engaged in the Lord's devotional service. In Brahma's one day, 14 Manus appear and disappear. The first Manu is Swayambhuva Manu. Each Manu lives for 71 yugas, each consisting of some 43,20,000 years. Although the Manus have such a long lifespan, they still prepare for the next life by engaging in the devotional service of the Lord. In this age, human beings only live for 60 or 80 years, and even this small lifespan is gradually decreasing. Therefore, it is even more imperative for human beings to take to the worship of the lotus feet of the Lord by constantly chanting the Hare Krishna mantra as recommended by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Trinadapi sunichena tarorapi sahishnuna amanina manadena kirtaniya sada harihi. When one is engaged in devotional service, he is often surrounded by envious people, and often many enemies come to try to defeat him or stop him. This is not new in the present age, for even in the days of yore, Prahlad Maharaj, who was engaged in the devotional service of the Lord, was harassed by his demoniac father Hiranyakashipu. The atheists are always prepared to harass a devotee. Therefore, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu suggested that one be very tolerant of these people. Nonetheless, one has to continue chanting the Hare Krishna mantra and preaching the chanting of this mantra, because such preaching and chanting constitute the perfection of life. One should chant Hare Krishna and preach about the urgency of making this life perfect in all respects. One should thus engage in the devotional service of the Lord and follow in the footsteps of previous acharyas, beginning with Lord Brahma and others. Om Jnana-timirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayyam Dadati Swapadantikam. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamscha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine. Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate. Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gauratvishe Namaha. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopesh Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Shri Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priya Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. नीलाचल निवासाय नित्याय परमात्मने बलभद्र सुभद्राभ्याम जगन्नाथाय ते नमः. जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभो नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा. हरे कृष्ण कृष्णा कृष्णा हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. Hare Krishna. We warmly welcome all the devotees assembled for the morning Srimad Bhagavatam discussion. I am very obliged to have this opportunity to share something from Srimad Bhagavatam, which all I have learned from my spiritual teachers. So would like to take the blessings of all my spiritual teachers and all of the devotees present here, assembled here online, so that I can do some justice for my own purification and for the pleasure of all the devotees. One inspiration for me to come and share about whatever I have learned is to time and again come in all of you senior devotees, so that all of you can keep scanning me. That is my spiritual path progress going on intact, or am I getting deviated again and again? So that will help me to always be on my toes and not to get diverted. Although I may be physically very far, but I can be guarded and be under all of your shelter. So with that mood and that understanding, I would like to share something about the steadiness of a devotee based on a recent lecture given by His Holiness Radhanath Swami Maharaj, he in Chowpati on the Narsimha Chaturdasi day. So as one of the purports also mentioned about perseverance in this, so we would like to elaborate, and the theme of the lecture, what he had said was steadiness. So in these lines, we will try to keep the discussion today. So I will be discussing on how to keep our spiritual life from shaky to steady spiritual life. So in the purport, Srila Prabhupada is mentioning about a few points which I would like to highlight. I will go by the main points of Srila Prabhupada's purport. Initially, Prabhupada is telling about who is a Pandita, and then he mentions about the qualities of an advanced devotee, and then he mentions how Lord Brahma and the Manus also are very eager to perform devotional service, and even though they have a very long lifespan, so how much important it is for the human beings to take it very urgently. And then mentioning the Shikshashtakam's third verse of Trinadapi Sunichena, Prabhupada mentions that how we need to be very tolerant in chanting of our Hare Krishna, as there may be some opposing elements, obstacles, but nevertheless continuing to preach, continuing to follow the devotional service is what needs to be endeavored by a practicing sadhaka. And at last he makes a very important point of urgency. So keeping these points in our mind in our discussion, I'll try to more elaborate on the point of steadiness, that how steadily one has to continue practicing in spite of obstacles, in spite of anarthas, and how to get that steadiness, how we get, especially from the life, the teachings and the life of Prahlad Maharaj. So as Prabhupada described in the purport, that who is a Pandita, Pandita is the one who has understood that the worship of Vasudeva after many, many births, and then he finally perfects after many births. So he's a very rare person who is a Pandita. And then in the discussion that what are the qualities of an advanced devotee, he mentions about being reserved, being perseverant, that is being steady. Then he's also talking about virakti, that is he should be detached from the material life. Mana shunyata, very, very important, not expecting any respect. Samutkantha is to serve, always eager to serve. Asha bandha is very certain that he will get the mercy of the Lord. He doesn't lose hope. His faith doesn't get shaken up in the process, and attracted to those places where the Lord has his pastimes. So when we take the first point, that being reserved. So as we know, being reserved for a devotee is not just to have a maun vrat or to keep mum and not intermingle, but to glorify Krishna and to enhance one's and others' devotional service. So in the 17th chapter, 16th shloka, Krishna tells to Arjuna, Manah prasada saumyatvam maunam atma vinigraha bhavasam shuddhir iti etat tapo manasam muchyate. The austerities of the mind, where it tells Manah prasada saumyatvam maunam atma vinigraha. The austerities of the mind is simplicity, saumyatvam, manah prasada means satisfaction and simplicity and gravity of thought. So this gravity of thought is a very, very important quality for a devotee, wherein he exercises that his energy and consciousness doesn't get wasted in prajalpa or any non-Krishna conscious endeavors and talks. Why? Especially because tongue and minds are very, very connected. If we tend to speak something non-Krishna conscious, then immediately that will affect our mind. So we need to be very careful in what we are talking, what we are exchanging, our thought process, because it is very intimately connected, the tongue and the mind. And if the mind is disturbed, then some unwanted thing may come out from our tongue. So both are interconnected. So for me, His Holiness Bhakti Rasamrita Swami Maharaj is a very great inspiration in this regard, especially where his speech, his thought process, his words are very, very measured and doesn't speak anything more than required or less than required. So we need to be very reserved in our speech and in our thought process both. Or sometimes we can also see that we can introspect ourselves. If some unwanted, unpleasant thought comes towards a devotee or towards any non-devotee also, we need to be very guarding ourselves. Why such a thought came? What was wrong in our understanding or thinking? Because these are the roots of offenses which can ultimately lead to obstacles in our bhakti. Coming to the point of steadiness, before that I will cover up the other qualities which Prabhupada has mentioned, is about the virakti, that we need to be detached from the material attachments slowly and gradually. And would like to say something about the mana shunyata. So when I was hearing once from a senior sannyasi that as we grow in spiritual life, we tend, some of them he has observed that they tend to expect some respect. So this becomes an obstacle again, because if we don't get that respect, being a senior devotee, spending 5, 10, 15, 20 years in the movement, then if the person does not, if the devotee does not get the respect, then he feels hurt and he feels discouraged. So he was telling it is very, very difficult to expect respect, and if we don't get, then to maintain ourselves. But it is very easy to give respect to others. Amanina manadena. It is because giving respect is in our hand, but expecting respect is in others' hand. So if we can practice it, obviously even giving respect is not so easy because of the anarthas which may be there. But at least we can practice this, even if superficially we can start this. Personally, for me also, I may not sometimes feel respectful, but when we try, at least eventually at least that feeling and that thought process will slowly sink in our consciousness. So giving respect. And then when is Samutkantha, Prabhupada is telling, always eager to serve. That eagerness to serve should be seen and should be cultivated more and more as we progress in our bhakti. And then Asha Bandhana, very, very exalted quality of always certain that Krishna will bestow all his mercy upon him. That firm faith in any tough situation also, he should be able to maintain this. And he should be attracted to those places where Krishna had performed his pastimes. So this is one of the quality in the 5 qualities of 64 regulative principles, which Rupa Goswami is highlighting. That is the Srimad Bhagavatam, the holy names, the deity worship, the chanting of the holy names, and visiting the holy places. So coming to the point of steadiness, and also Prabhupada mentions about avyartha kalatvam. So wanted to share about that this quality of avyartha kalatvam is very often advanced devotee, the one who does not want to waste even a single moment. As Chanakya Pandit says that even a moment wasted is very difficult to get back. But even though we aspire to do so, somehow we somewhere lack to continuously absorb our thought or our activities in Krishna consciousness moment after moment, moment after moment. So what is that that thing which stops us? So I heard from His Grace Radheshyam Prabhu once that we may try to do for 2-3 days, but in the 4th day we become very tired and we may giving up our perseverance effort. So he tells that sadhana is the basis for this. Unless our sadhana is not very strong, we will not be able to give consistent efforts. We will not be able to utilize each and every moment of day productively for Krishna consciousness, because our mental power has not become very strong enough to execute that. Our bhakti, our consciousness is not sufficiently soaked with Krishna, which can come with good sadhana and good association of devotees and mercy of the senior devotees. So we can take baby steps, step by step. We can try to see that where am I wasting time and where I have to focus more, and slowly try to be better than what we were yesterday. So that's avyartha kalatvam. Senior devotees sometimes don't even waste a moment when they are walking from one path to other. They may tend to recite some shlokas, or even the distance which has to be covered a little bit, they may cover it in a brisk walk or running way. So we need to not only externally but even mentally try to occupy our thought process with Krishna conscious activities and Krishna conscious thought process. So that is the quality of avyartha kalatva. And the quality of steadiness is a very exalted quality, mode of goodness quality, and how to acquire that. So Prahlad Maharaj depicts this quality in his pastimes. We see that Prahlad Maharaj is so steady in his remembrance to the Lord, in his devotion to the Lord, in spite of so many obstacles given by Hiranyakashipu. Actually, nothing could distract him in his concentration from Krishna. So, Matra Sparshastu Kaunteya Shitoshna Sukha Dukkada Agama Apaino Nitya Stam Stitikshasva Bharata. So, this quality of being steady in ups and downs is very exaltedly described and demonstrated by Prahlad Maharaj, which we can try to follow in the footsteps, if not, imitate. No question of trying to imitate. If we try, we will die. We cannot just imitate what Prahlad Maharaj did, but we can learn the principles of being steady. And we see that when Hiranyakashipu was giving one after one so many troubles, what was Prahlad Maharaj's response? He was not trying to actually even preach him. He was really from his heart, genuinely trying to help him to come out of this illusion. He was telling that better you go to the forest, give up these attachments of post and position, oh my dear father, the best of the asuras. He was direct, he was straightforward, he was not indirect. However, he was doing that with a very compassionate heart, and that is proved when at last, when he was killed, he is asking for the liberation of his father. So when the atrocities of Hiranyakashipu were increasing slowly and gradually, but we see that Prahlad Maharaj was not getting agitated. Someone is trying to kill us, how we cannot feel remorseful for him, how we cannot feel revengeful towards him. But here Prahlad Maharaj's reaction was only depending on the Lord's mercy. He was not at all feeling that, oh, my father is so much atrocious, I should kill him, I should pray badly for him. No, never. So when such a reaction was there by Prahlad Maharaj, this made Hiranyakashipu actually frustrated. He had kind of a nervous breakdown that I am doing so much torturous activity to Prahlad, but he is so much fixed. He is so much unwavering in his devotion to Lord Vishnu. So he was becoming worried that if I cannot kill him, he may kill me. So this is a quality of forgiveness which can help us to become steady. When we see that some elements are so much atrocious on us, but how we remain prayerful and beneficial for them. At least if we cannot imitate on this level, but we can try to at least a little bit imbibe this quality, and thereby it will help us only to remain steady. Because the moment we develop some hatred, even for a non-devotee, because tomorrow he may become a devotee, we don't know, and then Krishna may take it as an offense. So what to speak of a devotee then? So this quality of forgiveness can really help us to be steady. Vasudev Dutt, who was actually so much suffering from the leprosy, and he was keeping back the same worms back into those lesions and thinking that they also have the rightful claim. So Vasudev Dutt was considered to be Prahlad Maharaj by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, that he wants to deliver all the living entities. He is not worried about himself. He's ready to take the sins of all the living entities. So we may not be able to imitate this, but we learn a lesson that especially when such provoking situations come, we need to remember such personalities and their pastimes and try to imbibe one step from where we are. If yesterday we became angry on the person, then today we at least try to withhold ourselves. We may tell him, okay, we will not talk now, maybe we'll see tomorrow. So like that one step we can go ahead, and slowly and gradually we can march on this. And we see that the Srimad Bhagavatam does not focus on much on the part when Prahlad Maharaj was a king. Not much description is given, but the description when he was under the torturous effects of Hiranyakashipu is very, very much zoomed in and elaborated. So what message we get from this? Srimad Bhagavatam is trying to tell us that how we learn the lesson of tolerance and steadiness from this character of Prahlad Maharaj. When in times of difficulty, which all of us go through, being in this material world, there will be ups and downs, and which we need to learn. So that is why we see Gadadhar Pandit and Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu hundreds and hundreds of times discuss the pastimes of Dhruva Maharaj and Prahlad Maharaj. Again and again, because there are so many such qualities like steadiness which we need to learn from them, which are prerequisites, which are preliminary qualifications to enter Vrindavan. We cannot enter Vrindavan unless and until we have imbibed these qualities of such great personalities, the Mahajanas. By following in their footsteps, we can enter, like how Prabhupada emphasizes on reading the first 9 cantos and then going to the 10th canto. Similarly, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Gadadhar Pandit are teaching us that how important is to read. And they are not reading once or twice. They are hearing the same pastime hundreds of times. So unless they have taste, because they have taste, they were able to do that. So by getting the taste, by churning on these qualities, wonderful qualities, we can generate more and more taste, and we can imbibe these qualities on us. And Srila Prabhupada also in his prayers in Jaladuta, when he is about to reach USA, what was the prayer? Srila Prabhupada is earnestly praying after facing heart attacks and such a difficult voyage, that, oh Krishna, please give me some words so that I can help these people to become happy. So Maharaj was telling that Srila Prabhupada's prayers imbibed the spirit of Prahlad Maharaj, that he also wanted to help all the living entities and then go back home, back to Godhead. But Prabhupada's prayers are very simple, but still imbibing the spirit of Prahlad Maharaj, that he wants to help each and every soul in this country of USA and other countries. And he's praying very much that please, Lord, give me that words. So although we can see that Prabhupada's goal to spread Krishna consciousness in the entire world at that particular time when he was in the Jaladuta was so very far from a common perspective, from an ordinary human being's perspective, but still he is praying a very simple prayer. And although the mission is still very far, but he is taking small steps towards that, becoming very steadily further going ahead in spite of so many difficulties. So Maharaj gave a very important lesson for us to learn here is that even though our goal may be millions and millions of times far from where we are now, somebody has a project in his mind, somebody has to develop a department in his mind, somebody has to grow his family towards devotional life, somebody has to do a preaching, develop a preaching center. There can be many goals and we may be very far from there. However, without getting distracted from the distractions of the material world, distractions of name, fame, the subtle distractions of the Maya, we need to take step by step, inch by inch closer towards that goal with the quality of perseverance and steadiness, which Prahlad Maharaj, which Srila Prabhupada is showing us here, teaching us. Even the goal may be very far. So we can learn from these great souls that how they did not get shaken up, and they continued preaching and worshipping the Lord in this way. So Srila Prabhupada also mentions that in many times in his purport that within one lifetime we need to finish the business of going back to home, back to Godhead. So it appears difficult sometimes for me especially, that how at my current situation I can go back home with so many anarthas. But nevertheless, one of the seminars of Shake It to Steady, His Grace Radheshambhu mentions that one should not give up this attitude of going back to Godhead in one lifetime. This is like one stroke method. And we should also preach in our classes also about pure devotional service, which is going back to Godhead in one lifetime. Although it is very difficult, surely it is not an easy task, but we should not fall short in any case in preaching about this. We need to get perfected. Because we don't know how much time we have. Krishna told that my devotee never perishes. But Krishna did not promise that if we come back in next lifetime, what will be the condition? Surely if we have ended in 4% or 10% or 50% of bhakti, we will start from 51. But did Krishna promise that when you come next time, what will be the situation? Will there be 10,000 this golden period of Mahaprabhu or not? Is not guaranteed. And we don't know, like Parikshit Maharaj, whether how much time we have. So at coming to that last point of Prabhupada, the urgency of preaching. One is we worship the Lord, we continue to serve, like how Lord Brahma and Manu, even though they have a very long lifespan, we just read the purport, crores of years, human years, lakhs of years, the Manus they live, but still they are constantly devoted to the Lord's devotional service. And humans have very short lifetime, 60, 80 years. So how much more we have to take it seriously, we can understand. So there is one allegorical story which I would like to share now, which tells us about the urgency of taking the spiritual path so seriously. Is about a man who is trying to run in the desert, trying to search for water, for shelter, but not having any hopes. And suddenly he sees a very big, tall wall. And he sees that since there is no hope here, let me climb this wall and jump on the other side. And he sees that on the other side of the wall, there is green forest, dense forest. I think there is some hope for me to find out some shelter, some water, some food. And in that hope, he jumps on the other side and not able to come. The wall was so tall that he will not be able to return back. So he thinks, now I will be happy. So he jumps, and the moment he jumps, the tiger runs behind him. Uh, uh, and the tiger is chasing him, and the fellow is running, and suddenly he drops himself down in a well, a deep down well, which is not having water, but there is a big anaconda kind of a python snake which is there lying down, python, and he somehow clings himself to a branch of a root which is just coming out of the well wall, and he's hanging himself over there. And seeing this situation, above there is a tiger, below there is a python, and not to just make the situation simpler but more worse, there were honeybees there was a honeycomb which he crashed into, and all the honeybees were flying now and trying to sting him and giving him more pain. So uh, uh, this was not all. Rat, white color and a black color rats were trying to eat away the branch which he was hanging on. So you can imagine that what was the precarious condition of this poor soul who was hanging in the wall, in the middle of the wall of the well, down python, above tiger. So we may be feeling that what is the bad situation, but see now what is he doing? The honey comb which he crashed, there was a drop of honey falling on his mouth, and slowly he forgot the situation, what he's into, and started tasting the honey. We may feel very funny that, oh, how is this possible, and what this foolish person is. But if we deeply see, even a conditioned soul, a human being who is not very serious in devotional life, can also be in such a similar situation, because he's not knowing when the death will strike him. This allegorical story suggests it has very much significance of each part. The python which is down is representing death. The black and the white color rats which are eating away the branch, they are representing the day and night, which is taking away the time which we have, which we don't know also how much is there. So it is slowly and slowly finishing the time. And the honey bees which are biting him, they are representing the three kleshas: the Adi Bhautik, the Adi Devik, and the Adhyatmik. Adhyatmik. So, and the drop of honey which is falling on his tongue directly is representing the material happiness, the taste of material happiness, which is so going to be temporary and making us forget from our ultimate goal. So, why we shared this story? So this can make us understand that our situation also may not be so much different from this person, and life can end anytime. Parikshit Maharaj knew that he had 7 days, but we don't know whether we have 7 minutes also or not. When it comes to us, we may feel, oh, for us there is time. So this helps us to understand how much to urgently take the spiritual life and not delay it further. Yeah, and do the main important service to the Prabhupada's mission, that is preaching the holy names and the holy message of Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita. Unless we don't take this initiative, go out, meet people, and preach them, we will also not know what is the situation. We will not be make our lectures very relevant to them. Unless we don't go outside and meet people, we will not be able to make the things relevant. Although we have to repeat the message as it is. But Prabhupada says in the first canto, 4th chapter, 4th shloka, 1.4.4, that it is an art of the preacher to make the things very inspiring, very relishable and relevant for them. Although at the same time, he doesn't dilute the message. So that is a responsibility. We are not trying to dilute it, but we want to make it relevant to the audience. And not that we have to first perfect our life and then only preach. There are Bhajananandis and there are Goshtyanandis. Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj was Bhajananandi, and Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur was asked that your spiritual master was a Bhajananandi. So you are a Goshtyanandi, you are preaching so much. So are you bigger? Are you greater than your spiritual master? No, he told. My spiritual master is like a motor which is giving energy and electricity power. And I am like a fan, just rotating based on that power which is I'm getting. So surely our sadhana is our power, our sadhana is our basis. However, we don't wait for the perfection We don't wait till all the anarthas will go, then only I will start preaching. Because that doesn't happen. There is no end for perfection. There is no limit for that. So Prabhupada told that read 2 lines and preach 2 lines. So in that spirit, we can take up the message what Prabhupada is giving here of preaching is the essence, and do the worship to Lord, the service to the Lord in this way with a steady spiritual life in spite of so many obstacles, keeping the verse Trinadapi Sunichena Tarorapi Sahishnuna Amanina Manadena Kirtaniya Sadahari, because this is a very, very important quality. If we imbibe in ourselves, then we will be able to surpass the obstacles which will come and which are inevitable. Unless we don't imbibe this quality, it will be very difficult, because we see in our preaching, in our management, there are so many ups and downs which keep coming. Or if we start preaching, there are so many obstacles. Like in NITK Suratkal, we have seen that there was one letter written by a student of suicide who was being preached by Ritwiks. And then suddenly that letter came to the management of the college, and the management had a meeting, and they had decided that we will stop all these con activities, all nice activities which were going on since last 10 years, Janmashtami, Ramnavami. But now again, by the help of the students, we are trying to again go inside and do it in an indirect way. But now they are telling we will not be able to fund, because we are not doing it in a direct way. But somehow some opportunities now we are again getting. So so many obstacles keep coming, even though it is not our fault. As Prabhupada writes in the purport, that there may be envious people also who will try to undermine our preaching efforts. So keeping all these things in the mind, if we are steady by the teachings of Prahlad Maharaj, who was unshaken in his devotion to the Lord, hardly he prays also for his own benefit. Rather, he only prays that I can always remember you. I can always be the servant of the servant of the servant. I can always serve my spiritual master Narad Muni, and at last, if you can give liberation to my father. Such a elevated benediction, such a selfless benediction Prahlad Maharaj has, because he has no ulterior motives. So surely this is a very lofty and quality, but by practicing and by associating with those who have such qualities, surely we can also imbibe it. Once I remember that once there was an opportunity when I had to arrange a speaker for the class, and it was early morning 5 o'clock that I was have to search, and the service came very suddenly, and there was nobody to take care. Somehow it came on me, and early morning 5 o'clock I had give a call to Gaurchandra Gopinath Prabhu. Prabhuji, can you give a class Srimad Bhagavatam today in the temple? And Prabhuji immediately agreed, and he came at by such a short notice of 2.5 hours, and he came and gave a class. And later I came to know that already somebody else had inquired the previous day, and he had refused because it was going to be late night from his office, and he would have slept maybe 2-3 o'clock, and he had hardly sleep of 2-3 hours. But still, when I did not know that such a thing had happened. So I felt that, see, such a dedication, and so many devotees like him in our temple also. Even though in the Grahastha ashram, with so many duties and responsibilities, with so many obstacles which may come, but still they are trying and giving their best in the service to Lord Srila Prabhupada, which inspires me very much. That I, being a brahmachari, I should do so much more. But by seeing them doing so much more, I get really inspired. So many of them in our temple. So with this, I like to stop and pause here and request all of you for prayers that I can also develop some of these qualities and try to continue serving the devotees for the pleasure of the devotees. And please feel to comment and share your reflections, so that each and every one of us can get benefited. I see so many senior devotees assembled over here. So would like to have your contributions also. So in a nutshell, just to revise what we discussed today is that we discussed the qualities of an advanced devotee, the quality of being reserved, the quality of gravity of thought, that how mind and tongue are intimately related. So we should be very careful not to speak anything unnecessary which can come out and disturb our thought process and our focus on Krishna. And the qualities of mana shunyata, not expecting any respect, especially when we are growing in bhakti, advancing in bhakti. We tend that now I am a senior devotee, now I should be respected by junior devotees. That respect expectation can curb our progress. Rather, it is very easy to give respect. So that can be what we can learn from the quality of an advanced devotee. And there were other qualities like samutkantha, asha bandha, avyartha kalatvam. We discussed that how avyartha kalatvam we can practice for a long period of time is by good sadhana. And then we discussed that how the steadiness, quality of steadiness, which we can inculcate by Prahlad Maharaj's life, that he was not shaken up, even though Hiranyakashipu was very, very atrocious. And not to speak of that, even at the point when he was being killed, he was feeling only good. He was not having even an inch of hesitation, which frustrated Hiranyakashipu actually. So this can be learned if we have a quality of forgiveness. And Srimad Bhagavatam focuses on this aspect of Prahlad Maharaj, not on his kingship when he was king, because Bhagavatam wants to give us a lesson that when in troubles, how does the great devotees behave. And that is how Lord Brahma also tells in his prayer, 10th canto, Tattenu Kampam, Susumikshamano, Gunjane Evatma Kritam Vipakam. That whenever troubles come, the devotee thinks it was because of his own karma, and actually it was supposed to be much more, but Krishna has decreased and given. Then we will get the quality of this steadiness and tolerate so many obstacles which will come in a path of bhakti. And then we saw that how Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Gadadhar Pandit, they also discussed Dhruva Maharaj and Prahlad Maharaj pastimes again and again, because that will first imbibe the qualities which are prerequisites to go and enter Vrindavan, whatever qualities Dhruva Maharaj and Prahlad Maharaj are exhibiting. And then we saw that how Prabhupada in his prayers also has the spirit of Prahlad Maharaj's prayers, which is actually teaching us a very important lesson, that even if our mission is very, very far, millions and millions of kilometers away, but still, without getting distracted by the materially illusory thoughts and the subtle fame and name, we have to go step by step, small steps, baby steps. Yes, it may be very far, but we can take those baby steps, try to go in that path steadily, and having faith in the Lord, we will achieve. And not very much that after many millions of lifetimes. Our attitude can be of one lifetime, because that is what Prabhupada is expecting. It's a one-stroke method. And even though very difficult, but it is worth aspiring for and worth preaching for in our classes also. Then we heard the story, or allegorical story of a person getting fallen into a well, and which teaches us that our situation can also be somewhat like that. And that makes us to feel how urgent it is to practice this and to complete our business of going back home, back to Godhead, and entering the pure devotional service. And that can be done by preaching, which is by going outside, by meeting people, making things more relevant to them, and not just focusing on sadhana too much, but also balancing it with preaching. So sadhana and preaching go hand in hand. Not that first I will become a perfect practitioner, then only I will start preaching. No, it goes hand in hand. So with that, I like to pause here, and we can open for discussion. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Hare Krishna, Vanamali Govinda Prabhu. So nice, wonderful, wonderful class, especially covering symptom of advanced devotees, and very nicely summarized, Prabhu. Really wonderful. So nice. Now, devotees' lines are unmuted, and we have a few minutes, maybe 5-10 minutes now. Devotees can ask questions. Prabhu can enlighten us.
Hare Krishna. Dandavas Prabhuji. Thank you for the very inspiring class as usual. I like the point particularly when you said about respect. it's easy to give respect rather than expect respect. I mean, comparatively. So it made a lot of sense. And today I really felt like Mother Devahuti, getting instructions from Kapil Muni. Very, very wonderful. Thank you for the inspiring class. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mataji. You are setting nice example by your steady attendance in Bhagavatam classes. In spite, you are so senior. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Dandavat Pranam.
Dandavat
Prabhu,
Pranam.
the story for that. The tiger represents the time, Prabhu?
Yes, Mataji. The rats, black and white, they represents the day and the night. But in what I heard also, that the tiger also represents the overall time which we have.
Okay. Thank you, Prabhu. Very nice class. Very practical points you told. Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna.
Anyone else? Please share comments, questions.
Hare Krishna Vanamali Prabhu. Thank you very much for very insightful class. It's a timely reminder for people like me to make utilization of the time in the service of Krishna. Prabhuji, I have one doubt. In the beginning, you mentioned about Prahlad Maharaj tolerating all the pain inflicted upon him by Hiranyakashipu. And I think Hiranyakashipu was also harassing all other Vaishnavas or Brahmanas at that time. He was not allowing anybody to perform yajna or do the devotional activities. I just want to understand, Prabhuji, we also hear that when we are being inflicted upon pain, we should tolerate. But when other Vaishnavas are harassed, we should not tolerate. We should actually protest or we should do something, right, Prabhuji? So in this case, how to understand Prahlad Maharaj's patience when others are also harassed by Hiranyakashipu, Prabhuji?
Okay. So Prabhuji is asking that when we other Vaishnavas are harassed, how we can stop and be just patient and not do something to stop that. So in my understanding, that Prahlad Maharaj was actually wanting to help Hiranyakashipu out of his compassion, and he was telling that oh, best of the asuras. He knew that his father was asura, but on the same level he had compassion and affection for him also, wanting him to stop these activities, and he's telling him to go to forest. And Prahlad Maharaj was a small boy, so although he was his strength was not fight and having a battle with Hiranyakashipu. Surely the four things, when we see that Vaishnavas are harassed or offended, we can cut the tongue or we can kill the person, and we can actually defeat him by arguments, or we can run away from there. Even Mother Sati, when seeing Daksha not respecting Shiva, even she was very capable of destroying Daksha. Many Dakshas she could have destroyed, but she did not do, because his name of his husband, Lord Shiva, will be defamed. That Shiva employed her wife Durga or Sati, and through him he killed Daksha. So in order to that, he restrained. Similarly, Prahlad Maharaj, Acharyas, what they tell is the lessons here, that surely he was not counteracting, but he was counteracting in a different way. He was not accepting whatever Hiranyakashipu's torturous thing or his preaching or his activities, he was not at all supporting. So in that way, he is trying to counteract. He is trying to save. May not be that he is trying to wage a war or doing that. May not be practical also at that time, or that is not the way he has done it. But in my small understanding, I see that he is doing it in a different way. He is doing it and as Acharyas explain us, that we like Prabhupada also tells that if I am given an opportunity to become a prime minister, I rather become a spiritual master to him. I may not become a prime minister. Similarly, Prahlad Maharaj is not taking a position of fighting with Hiranyakashipu in a way like that, but he is fighting in the faith. He is not shaking up in his faith. So when we need to behave in a practical sense, if there is anything what we can do to counteract it, we do it surely. And we surely don't doubt Prahlad Maharaj action, that why he was not stopping Hiranyakashipu in attacking the Brahmanas. He is trying to preach him by not following his teachings. He was right in the lap when Hiranyakashipu was becoming very angry. Prahlad Maharaj was not shaken up. So in this way, he actually counteracted Hiranyakashipu. But I would also like if somebody else can add to this, because I feel that may be helping our Sankarshan Priya also. If others wants to add something, then feel free to add.
Prabhuji, I think what I understand is
Yes.
in the current context, there are many Hiranyakashipus who are harassing common people and also the devotees. So for us as a Vaishnava, our responsibility is to see how we can be strong in our faith and also continue to continue our devotional service of preaching and other activities. Because we may not, at least I do not have that strength to fight against those people who are actually inflicting the pain. But our duty is just to follow the footsteps of Prahlad Maharaj, like how he actually remained firm in the faith and also continued preaching. That's what I understand, Prabhuji. Is that correct, Prabhuji?
Yes, yes. And if we can do something, if somebody is able to do practically to stop that thing to happen, then we can also do that. But here the Hiranyakashipu was a very big, he was just next to Lord Brahma in his power. And the power of a devotee is not only in physical, but in his faith to the Lord. So surely Prahlad Maharaj was more powerful than Hiranyakashipu in this sense. But if something we can do practically, then we can do also. If somebody is openly blaspheming a devotee, we can go ahead and stop him or punish him. But we have to see the practicality based on the time and circumstances, and then act accordingly. But the principle of not obeying him, not listening and giving him up in the offensive environment is maintained in either activity, whether we take a physical action or not.
Yeah, thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you for the clarification.
If somebody else wants to add, then please feel free. Prasadeshwar Prabhu, Gaurchandra Gopinath Prabhu, Malini Mataji.
You have given a wonderful answer, Prabhu. Very nice. So, understood nicely. Okay. Anyone else? Any comments, questions? Okay. So, if not, we'll stop with the Vaishnava prayers.
Yes.
Hare Krishna.
Ashwatthana Prabhu, go ahead. Yeah, sir.
Yes, Prabhu, the example that you gave with respect to the well and the python, it is very, very simple, yet it has got a lot of philosophy behind that story, Prabhu. It touches the every even layman can understand how deep into this materialistic life, and it is very, very interesting story, Prabhu.
Thank you. I heard from my seniors. I just shared it. Thank
Very
you
nice.
for encouraging.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
So, Vanamali Govinda Prabhu will stop with the Vaishnava prayers.
Yes.
Vancha Kalpatarabhyasya Kripa Sindhu Devacha Patitana Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. It's great. Vanamali Govinda Prabhu Ki Jai.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Ending the meeting.
Hare Krishna. Dandavat pranam, Prabhu.
Hari Hari Bol.
Bhagavatam ki jai.